Today, Telifox will be teaching you how to implement various security measures on your Ubuntu system. So let's begin. So we will be using the official Ubuntu security server guidance information. So we have different subjects. So this is what we're using as a roadmap to configure all the various services to secure this server. So the first thing I want to do is create a new local account separate from a Samba account. So we do have a Samba domain controller, and those usernames are different from the actual usernames on the system. So right now we only have one username. It's a local user of system admin. And if we go to other locations, go to this computer, go to home, as you can see, there is only one local profile. So let's go ahead and create a few local profiles here with the command line, and then we'll go from there. So you could create a user with the command line, or alternatively you could go to settings. So let's go ahead and do that now. Right click over here at the top, select wired connections, wired settings, or you could select this tool icon. It brings up a menu and you want to locate devices. If it's not under devices, it should be under details. Yes, under details. So here you have the information of your computer. You could have your date and time changed here. Ubuntu does ship with the 24-hour time format, as you can see right here up at the top. But we want the AM PM time format. So to create a new user, click on New Users. You want to unlock the user's profile with the system administrator password. Click on Unlock, and you unlock with the system administrator password. Then from here we could click on Add New User. We could create administrators or standard users. So we go ahead and do that now. For the password, you could set allow user to change the password the next time they log in. And so we'll select that for this profile, for Mike's profile. And for the other profile that we're going to create, we are going to create a standard profile. And for Nick, we want to set the password now. Alright, we have the password set. Go ahead and click on Add. Then from here you can change the username picture. So you have default photographs inside of Ubuntu. Ships with these photographs. I will go ahead and select one that I feel fitting. So we'll go ahead and select the cat. For Mike, we could change it to bass or guitar. And for Nick, we could change it to hummingbird. Okay, so that's how to create new users, local users on an Ubuntu server or system. You can also do remove users just by clicking the user and clicking on remove. Okay, as you can see, we created the 3 profiles. Each profile now has a home folder inside the home directory. And here we want to secure each of these home folders. But we'll show you how in the next demonstration. Okay, what we want to do now is lock each folder so that way each profile has its own control and permissions over each folder. So that would prevent the system administrator from accessing Nick's files. That would prevent Nick from accessing Mike's and system administrator files. To do that, we type in sudo chmod 075 home and then the username. So for Mike, do that. For Nick, we do that, and then for system admin. And as you can see, so if I log in as Nick, I won't be able to access these two folders. If I log in as Mike, I won't be able to access these two folders. And right now, as I'm logged in as system administrator, I can't access Nick's files. So let's see. Will it let me log in with just my password? I may be able to log in because I'm a system administrator and admin, so let's see. No. Yes, so you would have to log in as the actual user to access their profile. So it's good to lock down certain folders that way. You could basically use this similar chmod number for various folders that you want to keep secret, but usually you just want to store all your personal files for each user inside the home folder under their username. A more direct approach to add certain security perimeters for each user would to be sudo nano into a certain file and change the config file. So we type in sudo nano etc or etc adduser.conf, and under drive mode we want to change the default. So drive mode here, you have the default 0755 permissions. We want to change that to 0750. And so by default, every user that we create will now have a locked folder specific to their username and password. So we could test that theory out in just a moment. So we go over here to settings, to users. We will unlock the users panel with the main administrator password. And then we add a new user. We will make a standard account, and this will be Jack. Add. And let's go ahead and double click on Jack's profile, get him a photograph. And so hypothetically, if we open up home again, Jack's profile, as you can see, is currently locked and I can't access it. So that's a more direct, more efficient approach. It's best to change the adduser.conf file with this permission once you have your server up and running to ensure that each home and user home directories are locked with appropriate permissions. Next is the firewall. So we do have the firewall already enabled. This is the command line firewall, the uncomplicated firewall. So if we type up sudo gufw status, that will give us the status of the firewall. And as you can see, we have a few ports open, a few services open. However, if you want a graphical user interface for this firewall, you could type up sudo apt install gufw. G stands for the graphical user interface. So gufw. That will take about a minute to install the resources needed for that program. And then we could add the firewall program right here to the little taskbar. Okay, now that the installation is complete for that program, pull up show applications. And this is the firewall that we just installed. This is essentially an uncomplicated firewall, so it's the UFW firewall that we use in the command line, but it's the graphical user interface version. While we're in this menu, we do want to right click and add any of our favorite programs. So we want to add the firewall as one of our favorites. We want to add system monitor as our favorites, but it's very easy to add something to your favorites. Just right click in this menu, or you could drag and drop, right click and then add to favorites. So let's close this. Open up the firewall. And as you can see, the firewall's on. You have incoming deny. You have some rules. So here you could create the same rules that you did with the command line. Very easy, very straightforward. It's a little bit more graphical, user friendly. So this is for people who like to create firewall rules with an actual graphical user interface. You could also export the profile, import the profile. You could do a lot of things with this graphical user interface firewall. Okay, so say we want to create a new password policy. So for example, if you want to extend the password length to a specified length, you could do that by typing up sudo nano etc or etc pam.d common -password. Okay, and here you could have the requirements. So let's see. This password requires a certain kind of encryption, and you just add after the encryption, this SHA512, you add your minimum length. So for example, if we want a minimum length password of 12 characters, you type so now. So just add min length equals 12 or whatever number that you want. And to save, you go ahead and click on Control X, press Y to accept the changes, and then enter. With the command line, you could also change the password expiration, the inactivity of the password, along with the account expiration. So that's pretty good for keeping control over switching out new passwords for a specific controller or domain or server. So to do that, we type up sudo chag -l and then the username. So if we have Mike, let's type up Mike. So as you can see, that lists the password requirements and settings for Mike, the username. So the last password change, it must be changed. Eventually this password must be changed. So let's use Nick. I think we set a password for Nick. Okay, as you can see, so for Nick we did set a password. As you can see, we had the password change on this specific date. The password never expires, password can never be inactive, and the account never expires. And then you have the maximum minimum days of password change and numbers of days for warning. So from here you can change these settings with a specific command. This gets a little bit more complicated for some users, but if you're a system administrator and you want specific criteria for a account, this is the format that you would use. So you would use this entire command. And here's more information here. So the command, what it does is it changes the explicit expiration date to 01/31/2015. The minimum age of the password could be 5 days. The maximum age of the password could be 90 days. The inactive period could be 30 days for the password expiration, and a warning time of 14 days before it expires. So just take note of that. You could really do some granular and very specific password requirements for each account. For our case scenario, we will not change any of this, but just know that that's one way to secure your server for your accounts. And actually, you know what? We will test it out. We will just go ahead and test it out. If you have this web page open, you could just copy and paste this. However, we will type it out. So we do sudo chh e for expiration. Then let's do 1/01/2022-m for minimum age of 5 days. So when you create the password, you cannot create a new password until 5 days after you created the initial new password. Then the maximum age of 90 days. So after 90 days, the password must be changed. If it hasn't, then the account will expire. Then you have the inactive period of, let's do 1 day. So if the password expiration happens, the inactivity period for that profile will be 2 days. Then the warning time period for -w is 15 days. And then you just type up the username. So for our case scenario, this was Nick. And then we just press enter. And to verify the changes, we go ahead and do sudo chh-l nick. And as you can see, the account expires on this date. The inactivity period, the password expires on this date here. So you just get an understanding of how to change the password requirements for each profile. To add a group, we type in the following. Sudo group add g, give it an ID, and then we call it SSH login. Okay, now we should be able to add the sudo add user system admin to SSH login. Alright, there you go. So now what we want to do is restart the service. We can restart the service by typing in the following: systemctl restart sshd.service. Alright, we couldn't restart the service because I do not have it enabled or installed. So let's go ahead and change that really quick. apt get install openssh-server y. And once that installs, we should be able to go back into the configuration files and make the proper changes. Okay, yeah, so it looks like it already has this. Let's install, let's see. Let's do the install the package maintainer version. And after that installs, we should be able to configure the profile. So we go back to sudo nano etc ssh sshd config, and here we go. Now we have all the information here. Okay, so let's see, where's allow groups? So we just need to locate allow groups and then add the proper groups. Okay, so we just add a new variable. They didn't have the variable inside of the file already, so it's allow groups SSH login. We already have that group created. Alright. And now let's try to restart the service. Okay, so the service is restarted. So now only system administrator or system admin could SSH into this computer. So that's how you would secure the server to allow only certain individuals to SSH into the server. Next is the AppArmor service. AppArmor is a Linux security module implemented of the name-based mandatory access controls. It confines individual programs to set of a listed files and PostX 1003.1e draft capabilities. So let's go ahead and install that. It looks like it's already installed by default for the server, but maybe not for the desktop. So we do sudo apt install AppArmor or profiles. And as you can see, it wasn't installed, so we're installing it for the first time. Okay, so AppArmor profiles have two modes of execution. Complaining and learning. Profile violations are permitted and logged, useful for testing and developing new profiles, and enforced and confined. Enforced policies, which as well as logging violations. So let's do sudo apt AppArmor underscore status. And as you can see, it has 80 profiles are loaded, and then 43 profiles are enforced. So it already has some enforced AppArmor profiles, which is good. That's a good sign. To create a new AppArmor profile, we could type in the following into the terminal. We type in sudo aa-gen profile, and if we scroll back up, let's see, AA was okay, generate profile, and then the service, so Samba. So we do need to install the AppArmor utilities to be able to create and generate a new profile. So we do sudo apt get install AppArmor.utils. Y for installing the program. And then after the installation, we should be able to sudo aa-generate profile for the Samba executable. Okay, so let's see, writing update profile for user Samba, setting user Samba to complain mode. Before you begin, you may wish to check if profile already exists for the application you wish to confine. See the following. So profiling, please start the application to be profiled in another window and exercise functionality now. Alright, so scan system. So you press S for scan system log for armor events, or F for finish. Let's do S for scan here. Let's see. Let's do finish. There you go. Okay, so now Samba profiles in enforce mode. So you can change the profile. Let's see, it should be listed maybe in here now. Let's go over to AppArmor-D. Let's see. That was user sim Samba. User sim Samba. Okay, yeah, so as you can see right here, this is enforced. It also has a locked symbol. But as you can see, that's how to create a new profile. And each profile has a text criteria, and it has all the configurations You don't really need to change these. It's just a way to secure different programs used on your server. Okay, back to the firewall. So we did already install the uncomplicated firewall along with the graphical user interface of uncomplicated firewall. However, we want to make sure we do logging. And so we could log the files by typing in the following. So we do sudo ufw logging on. Let's see. Let's just go back here. Okay, let's go back. I forgot to add the G. So sudo uf logging on. And logging is now enabled. So now the firewall will log any activity, any kind of discrepancies between the ports and ports that are either open or ports that are closed. To view the firewall logs, we could type up sudo nano -var log messages. Or we could navigate in the file system over here to that specific folder. So if we just go to the main drive var, and it was logs and messages. Let's see, messages. Oh, I don't see messages anywhere here. That's fine because we will pull it up with the command line. So yeah, there's nothing in there. However, if we go to system log, let's see, system log there. UFW log, that's where we want to look. So inside of the UFW log, this is where you will find all of the logging information. You also have your system log here. So just take note of that. The firewall logs are now being recorded, they're being saved, and you have the capability to basically back them up and to put them on an external server for record keeping, just in case there's a hacking or an event or any kind of discrepancy within the firewall. Okay, last but not least is the console security. So for example, Ubuntu ships with the capability to press Ctrl-Alt-Delete twice to reboot the server. We don't want that capability, so what we want to do is do sudo systemctl mask ctrl-alt-delete-target. So sudo systemctl mask ctrl-alt-delete-target. Okay, and then sudo systemctl daemon reload. And now, hypothetically, they shouldn't be able to reboot the server by pressing Ctrl-Alt-Delete twice. So that's good to ensure that if a production server is in the network, you don't have somebody just walk into the server room, goes to your Ubuntu system and press Ctrl-Alt-Delete twice and then restart your whole system and bring down the production network. There is two more things that we could do, which is certificates. We will not mess with certificates. The reason why is because essentially self-signing certificates could create a security problem for a production network. So it's best to use and install official CA trust certifications that you would purchase from a CA certification provider. So just be aware you could definitely do that for your server as well. And that's basically it for this video. We showed you basically how to secure your Ubuntu system. You have your server up and running, and everything should now be configured. There are a few more things that I want to show you, but we will go ahead and go through that in the next episode. If you enjoyed this video, please like, and Don't hesitate to contact Telifox for all your consulting needs. You have a good afternoon.